Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari
Thank you so much, Ramapati Prabhu. Jayam Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parikacharya Ashtotarsha Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parikacharya Ashtotarsha Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Ko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Natikoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaura Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories Shri Guru and Shri Govardhana. All glories Shri Prabhupada. Narayanam namaskritya Naram chaiva narottamam Devim saraswatim vyasam Tato jayam adirayet Nashtapraisu bhadreshu Nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavat uttama shloke Bhaktir bhavati naishtaki Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. So before we go to the Srimad Bhagavatam, we can hear about Lochan Das Thakur.
Sri Lochan Das Thakur was a disciple of Sri Narahari Sarakar Thakur, a dearest associate of Lord Gaura Rai. Quote, "My hope of hopes is to be near the lotus feet of Sri Narottam Das Thakur and serve him with my very life. The cherished desire of the fallen Lochan Das is to be allowed by Narahari's grace to sing the glories of Lord Gauranga. My Lord is Sri Narahari Thakur. I am his servant. Bowing before him, I beg for his service. This is my only aspiration." This is Lochan Das in his book, Chaitanya Mangal. Lochan Das Thakur wrote Chaitanya Mangala, which tells many pastimes of Lord Chaitanya not revealed by Vrindavan Das Thakur or Krishna Das Kaviraj. He mentions an especially touching conversation Sri Gaura Sundar had with Vishnu Priya Devi the night before he took sannyas. Being a talented musician, Lochan Das told Mahaprabhu's pastimes in beautiful poetry filled with fire and rhythm. Common people could easily understand the divine character of Sri Chaitanya and awaken their religious feelings. As devotees regularly chant the Vedic epics Ramayana and Mahabharata, Gaudiya Vaishnavas still wander through Bengal reciting the Chaitanya Mangal. Lochan Das Thakur also wrote many songs praising Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, and Gauridas Pandit. Lochan Das stresses that Raganuga Bhaktas must take shelter of Gadadhar Vrindavaneshwari to attain Radha Govinda Prema Bhakti. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to print and distribute Lochan Das Thakur's Sri Chaitanya Mangal. Srila Prabhupada was very fond of his bhajans. While singing Paramakarana, Srila Prabhupada would plunge into the ocean of Gauranga Prema. Prabhupada wrote an extensive commentary on this bhajan. Bhajo bhajo bhai Chaitanya Nitai Sudada Vishwasa Kori. Lochan Das asks everyone, "My dear brother, just worship Lord Chaitanya Nityananda with firm faith and conviction. Don't think that this chanting and dancing will not lead to the desired goal. It will. It is the assurance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that one will get all perfection by this process. Therefore one must chant with firm faith and conviction." Close quote. His samadhi is in the 64 samadhis area. Shri Lochan Das Thakur ki jai.
Jai. So this morning we'll be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th Canto, Chapter 9, Text 46. If you could repeat after me. Ye Vikshiptindriya Diyo Devas Te Swarhide Stitam Na Vindati Priyam Shashvad Atmanam Kim Utapare Ye Vikshiptindriyo Driyadiyo Devaste Swarhide Stitam Navindati Priyam Shashvad Atmanam kim upapare ye vikshiptindriya diyo devasta swarhide stitam na vindanti priyam shashvad. Atmanam kim upapare ye vikshiptindriyadiyo devaste swahride stitam na vindanti priyam shashvad. Atmanam kim upapare Any of the Matajis would? I'm just kidding. Anyone online would like to chant? Or anyone here? I think Aditya Prabhu. Devaste Swati Destatam. You want to chant Nilesh Prabhu? Atmanam kim utapare. Synonyms. Yea. Which personalities? Vikshipta tindriya diyaha. Whose senses, mind, and intelligence are always agitated because of material conditions. Devaha, like the demigods. Te, such persons. Swarhidi, in the core of the heart. Stitam, situated. Na, not. Vindanti, no. Priyam, the dearmost personality of Godhead. Shashvat, constantly, eternally. Atmanam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kemuta, what to speak of. Apare, others, like human beings. Translation purport by Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Even though the demigods have the advantages of being situated in the higher planetary systems, their mind, senses, and intelligence are agitated by material conditions. Therefore, even such elevated persons fail to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is eternally situated in the core of the heart. What then is said is to be said of others, such as human beings, who have fewer advantages. Purport. It is a fact that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always situated in everyone's heart. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hridesharjuna tishtati. But because of our material anxieties, which are inevitable in this material world, thank you, I can't say that word, we cannot understand the Supreme Lord, although He is situated so near to us. For those always agitated by material conditions, the yogic process is recommended, so that one may concentrate his mind upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead within the heart. Dhyāna vastita tadgatena manasa pashanti yam yoginaha. Because in material conditions, the mind and senses are always agitated by the yogic procedures like dhāraṇā, āsana, and dhyāna, one must quiet the mind and concentrate it upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, the yogic process is a material attempt to realize the Lord, whereas bhakti, devotional service, is a spiritual process by which to realize Him. Mahārāja Khaṭvāṅga accepted the spiritual path, and therefore he was no longer interested in anything material. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 18:55, Bhaktya mam abhijanati. Only by devotional service can I be understood. One can understand Krishna, the Parabrahman, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only through devotional service. The Lord never says that one can understand Him by performing mystic yoga or by philosophically speculating. Bhakti is above all such material attempts. Anya bila shita shunyam jnana karmad yana ritam. Bhakti is uncontaminated, being unalloyed even by jnana or pious activities. Om jnana timarandasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurn militam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamsha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshware Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vancha Kalpatri Bischa Kripa Sindhibhyevacha Patithanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Even though the demigods have the advantages of being situated in the higher planetary system, their minds, senses, and intelligence are agitated by material conditions. Therefore, even such elevated persons fail to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is eternally situated in the core of the heart. What then is to be said of others, such as human beings, who have fewer advantages? So Mahārāja Khaṭvāṅga accepted the spiritual path, and therefore he was no longer interested in anything material. Srila Prabhupada would often make a comparison between two family men, a grihastha and a grihamedi. A grihastha is one who is trained in Krishna consciousness. He knows to control the mind and the senses, and is trained to keep Krishna in the center of family life. Whereas a grihamedi is one who thinks the perfection of life is to stick to the home, nice wife, children, and nice bank balance, that's all. To live by earning and maintaining his family, then at the end, he dies without any other thoughts besides family members. No Krishna conscious training. And Yamaraj is waiting for such a gross materialistic person. Tyaga, or renunciation, is an opulence. And Krishna has 6 opulences, and one of them is renunciation. Srila Prabhupada, he says, if one has enjoyed very much, the next stage will be renunciation. That is natural. But to bring one to the platform of renunciation is very difficult, especially when one has these nice things. A nice wife, nice home, bank balance. It's very difficult. Srila Prabhupada was giving a lecture, and he was speaking to his disciples. He said, you all have got renouncing spirit. You are taking to Krishna consciousness very nicely. Therefore, sometimes I like these hippies because they have a spirit of renunciation. That is very good position. Simply, they require dhyāna or knowledge. And it's true. In the early days, the counterculture, the hippies, they pretty much rejected whatever the government, the modern age at that time were convincing them. They rejected it, and then they were searching for something. That's why there's so many gurus at that time. It's described that a human being, when he takes birth, he has 3 debts to pay. To the parents, the demigods, and to the sages. To the demigods, they provide the basic needs of life. So one owes a performance of sacrifice. To the parents, from whom one inherits the good karma and cultural heritage of one's family, one owes offspring. And to the sages who teach how to fulfill the spiritual potential of human life, one owes study of the Vedas. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 84, text 39, Mahārāja, he says, if he leaves his body without first liquidating these debts by performing sacrifice, studying the scriptures, and begetting children, he will fall down into hellish condition. So we have certain debts to pay, but it's mentioned the residents of Vaikuntha, however, are immune from such reactions for neglecting the laws of material nature. They have no fear of karmic retribution. Nothing they do can be sinful. They can act confidently, however they wish, in the strength of their pure devotion to Lord Vishnu. So that's the first obstacle, is when and how to give up family life. Then the second obstacle is the desire to obtain the demigod's abode, the heavenly planets. So I'll read a few verses from Srila Sanatana Goswami's Sri Brihad Bhagavatamrita. So Narada Muni is looking for the recipient of Krishna's mercy. He starts off from the leader of the Brahmanas, and then he told him actually the southern king, he's a recipient because he teaches the citizens to be Krishna conscious. And then the southern king, he says, I actually can't give any charity, I'm a very limited human mortal being. Go to the demigods. So he points Narada Muni to the demigods. So he goes to the heavenly world. And he sees that the demigods, says the demigods' food is a nectar of immortality. The soma nectar that the demigods drink frees them from death, disease, and old age. And out of these demigods, Purandara, Indra, is distinguished among them. He rules the 3 planetary systems for 71 celestial ages. So Narada Muni starts glorifying Indra. But Indra, Lord Indra, he refutes Narada's praise. And he says, King Indra, he says, are you unfamiliar with what ruling heaven means? Don't you know how many times we demigods had to flee heaven in fear of the Daityas? One of them, Bali Mahārāja, took over as Indra. We residents of heaven are tainted with faults, like jealousy and rivalry, and we live in constant fear of losing our post. So what happiness do we truly enjoy? So this is the king of heaven, and he's saying this to Narada Muni. Then Indra tells Narada Muni that actually Lord Brahma is a true recipient of the favor of Lord Hari, because Lord Brahma is directly born from the Lord's lotus navel and not from Mother Lakshmi. And Lord Brahma, he's the creator of the planets. And in one day of Brahma, 14 Indras like me come and go, along with different sets of Manus and all demigods. That one day equals 1,000 cycles of earthly ages. So he goes to see Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma is walking or following Lord Vishnu with Mother Lakshmi. But after being praised by Narada Muni, Lord Brahma, this is what he says: by the power of Krishna's Maya, I am always deluded by various conceit. I think myself the controller, the grandfather, and spiritual master of the universe. Proud of my birth from Krishna's lotus navel, I think myself a great ascetic. I am overwhelmed. So when I read this, it reveals Lord Brahma's minds. Proud of my birth, I think myself a great ascetic. I am overwhelmed by the countless duties of universal management. Worrying about the imminent destruction of my planet, I live in terror of all devouring end of time. All I want for myself is liberation. So managing is not an easy service. Right, Balaram Prabhu? Managing one temple, what to speak of a whole society like ISKCON. Sri Brihad Bhagavatam. So Lord Brahma wants liberation from the affairs of managing the universe and to be free from the false glorification. And Lord Brahma, he recounts, after the killing of Hiranyakashipu, Lord Brahma tried praising the Lord with skillful prayers from a distance, but the Lord wouldn't even honor him with a sidelong glance. But when Prahlad Mahārāja approached him, the Lord became pacified. When Lord Brahma approached Lord Narasimhadev, he angrily ordered him, "You should not give such benedictions to demons, O lotus-born." And then Narasimhadev, he gives an example that it's dangerous to give milk to a snake. Similarly, it is dangerous to give benedictions to demons who are by nature ferocious and jealous. And then Lord Brahma starts describing the benedictions that he gave. For example, Ravana, he created disturbance in the world and he offended Lord Ramchandra by kidnapping Mother Sita. Taking responsibility for the demigods, he appointed such persons like Indra, who even committed a great offense by trying to kill the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Varuna offended the Lord by arresting Nanda Mahārāja. Yamaraj took away the young son of Krishna's teacher, Sandipani Muni, allowing the demon Panchajana to kill the Brahmana boy. And Kuvera's sons, they offended Narada Muni due to excessive pride and being intoxicated. So Lord Brahma told Narada Muni to go see Lord Shiva. As far as I've read so far, it's getting sweeter and sweeter. So when Narada Muni, when he went to see Lord Shiva, he just finished worshipping Lord Sankarshan. And all of his devotees and Parvati were in ecstasy. Narada Muni began praising Lord Shiva and his glories, mentioning how Lord Shiva would give benedictions to Lord Krishna. And you know what Lord Shiva did? Lord Shiva covered Narada Muni's mouth with both hands and said, "Don't even mention that arrogance of mine." Lord Shiva considered himself offensive to have shown his own power before Lord Krishna by offering him benedictions. But Lord Krishna never considers anything done by Lord Shiva to be offensive. And then Parikshit Maharaj is talking to his mother, Uttara. "My dear mother, Lord Shiva was so embarrassed by hearing this that he lowered his face." So it goes on, and then Lord Shiva tells Narada Muni to go see the devotees in Vaikuntha. Those devotees are real, they have the mercy of Krishna. Because they're free from false prestige, pride, and everything they do is pure devotion to Krishna. And when Lord Shiva saw that Narada Muni was about to leave for the Vaikuntha plans, he stopped them. And he reminded him, don't you remember there's one such great devotee that's still here on earth? And that's Prahlad Maharaj. So Narada Muni, he begins to, he goes to Sutala to go see Prahlad Maharaj, because Narasimhadev invited him to stay for some time there. So Narada Muni, he begins to praise Prahlad Maharaj. And Prahlad Maharaj is one of our Mahājans, authorities. He says, from your very childhood, you have been endowed with pure devotion for Krishna. By virtue of that pure devotion, you overcame terrible obstacles, the thousands of outrages your father committed against you. And by your influence, all the demons became Vaishnavas. When Lord Krishna appeared on the shore of the ocean, he placed you on his lap and caressed you like a mother. Thus he honored you, ignoring Brahma, Shiva, and the other demigods offering prayers. And he even ignored goddess Lakshmi. And, you know, a devotee, naturally, when they hear praise, they feel a little embarrassed, you know. Most devotees. So Prahlad Maharaj, he said, my Lord and spiritual master, please reconsider everything you have said. A young boy simply cannot understand correctly the science of devotional service to Krishna. So he begins to reject or refute Narada's praises. He mentions how when one receives instructions from great souls, those instructions have the power to awaken one's higher understanding. So he was giving credits to his spiritual master, who is Narada Muni. So, towards the end of their conversation, Prahlad Maharaj, he actually said, I'm not favored by the Lord. And then he quotes that Krishna, he says, when I wish to favor someone, I make him lose his opulence. So this is evidence, and Prahlad Maharaj, he was given the kingdom of Hiranyakashipu. So Prahlad Maharaj considered himself to actually be, what is it called? No, like, what's the right word? Kind of like tricked, you know. Because if Krishna does really favor someone, he would take, and he actually told him, Narada Muni, you're one of those persons that, because Narada Muni was cursed by two people not to have permanent residence. One was from Daksha, and the other one was from, you guys remember? It was a woman. Well, both of them cursed Narada Muni that he can't stay in one place. So he said, my dear spiritual master, you are actually one of those devotees. So when Prahlad Maharaj, when he understood that Lord Narasimhadev gave him the kingdom to rule, he rejected his so-called mercy from Krishna. He says, you see how my worship of the Lord has been eclipsed by my attachment to ruling my kingdom and by my ties to family members, servants, and others. For not crying over this remorse, I should be condemned again and again. So great personalities never feel like they're worthy of Krishna's mercy. They feel that others deserve the right to Krishna's mercy, and they try to help others get mercy. So in relation to Bhakti Mam Abhijanati, only by devotional service can I be understood. There's a pastime that Srila Sanatana Goswami mentions in his book, and maybe it's not so famous, but Prahlad Maharaj and Lord Narasimhadev, they actually fight. So this is from the Vamana Purana. It says that one day Prahlad Maharaj, he went to the Naimisharanya forest to have darshan of Narayan, who is known as Pita Sava, the Lord in yellow dress. So while he was on the road, he saw an ascetic. But the strange thing about this ascetic is that he was holding a bow and arrow. So he went to him and said, you can either be a sage or a kshatriya. You have to choose. And if you don't like my instruction, I challenge you. So this ascetic, he actually accepted the challenge. And it says that they were fighting for many days. And Prahlad couldn't understand why he couldn't defeat this person. But this person was actually Narayan Rishi. So he said early one morning, before resuming the fight, Prahlad Maharaj worshipped his personal deity. He then saw his opponent standing nearby, wearing the same garland he had just offered the deity. Prahlad suddenly recognized that the stranger was Lord Pita Vasa, Lord Narayan himself. So then he offered his obeisances, and then he asked about his promise, because he told him, I'm going to defeat you. So the Lord, he said, I'm always defeated by you. Not only today, but always. You always defeat me by your devotion. So how exalted a devotee like Prahlad Maharaj. And Lord Krishna is defeated by the love of his devotees. Okay. So, in relation to this, we should reflect, are my activities and services, do they attract Krishna, or is it just beneficial to myself? Is it tainted with selfish motive? The way I perform kirtan, the way I not really put my attention in cooking or my japa, or distributing books, is it that prestige or something? Is it tainted with some other thing besides pure devotional service? And it says that a pure devotee has no plans other than those for the Lord's service. He is not interested in attaining success in mundane activities. He is interested only in satisfying Krishna. So the demigods, although they have so many advantages, they actually have anxiety also. Okay, it's 8:28. This is my last class for a while. Some of you will rejoice. Are there any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the nice lecture. I heard last night you're only going to be in India for 3 days. Is that true? I'm just kidding. What?
No.
I'm just like, so I have something I thought about. You'd mentioned about Lord Brahma, and he has 4 heads. But how many, as far as his subtle body goes, does he just have one mind?
I think each head has a mind, but they work together,
Anyway, thank you.
I would have argued the opposite, because mind is part of the subtle body, where the mind isn't necessarily localized in the brain. So I think, but again, I don't have a reference for my thing either.
Yeah, that's true. They say that the mind is in the heart.
Yeah, he clearly probably has 4 brains, but maybe 1 mind.
Yeah, intelligence. So yeah, So Lord Brahma, he's just waiting for liberation, you know.
More heads. 10, 20, 30, 100, a million,
Mm-hmm.
Krishna says. And if each head, if each brain had a mind of its own, there might be some disagreements going on there. I think one mind and many brains.
Yeah. It's interesting, the demigods' services, you know. But it's mentioned that their minds, senses, and intelligence are agitated by material conditions because they're still within the material world. You know. And like I mentioned, a lot of these demigods, they've actually committed offense to Krishna. Okay. You have something?
Well, in this purport, wrong purport. I found it interesting the way Srila Prabhupada put it, that at least in Srila Prabhupada's purport, he's mentioning how Krishna is in the heart of everyone. Why can some see, some can't see? It's because of their material conditioning and their material entanglement. And therefore, there are yogic processes, different paths of different processes of yoga by which to disentangle oneself materially. And then he looks at like what he refers to as like the physical or material yoga processes, and then compares that to this, like I guess he refers to as like the spiritual yoga process of bhakti. And so he's looking at a physical yoga process. Those are also meant to accomplish, seeing the Lord in the heart, it seems. So therefore, dhāraṇā, āsana, dhyāna, he lists those three. And he says this is a material attempt to, he said material attempt to what again?
To see the...
Right. Material attempt to realize the Lord. Yeah. Whereas then the process of bhakti, devotional service, is a spiritual, I guess you say spiritual attempt, it's a spiritual process. So there's, so then at first that kind of clicked. Okay, yeah, so there are, at first the way he was saying, though he used the word attempt, I still thought it looked like, yes, right, because I'm piecing it together with other things in Bhagavad Gita. I'm thinking, yes, okay, so there are like mechanical processes to see the Lord. Just like there are logical arguments to appreciate that the Lord is present, that the Lord is the source of everything. There are logical like arguments to it. Then there is like through prayer, like through devotion you can recognize the Lord. But even just through really good logic you could recognize the Lord. Maybe someone could argue that no matter how logical you are, without some tinge of bhakti you're going to just somehow just not see it. Maybe, but at least there are good arguments, like good logical arguments. So there's like. So it's just like you can come to the conclusion that the Lord is present or is behind everything, either through logic or through devotion. And then here, so I was reminded of that from here. It looks like you can realize the Lord through mechanical means of dhāraṇā, āsana, dhyāna, pranayama. You could add to it, or you can realize the Lord through devotion. But then Srila Prabhupada continues, and he wraps it up. That, but you can only realize the Lord by devotion. Actually, the thing is, I think even, now actually looking at it again, I think even that is actually my own mistake. It looked like then he goes from saying, these are two processes, the material processes and the spiritual processes. And then I thought he then wraps it up, but only bhakti is the only process. But actually looking at it now, perhaps the way of reconciling that is, really his wording later is that he says you can understand Parabrahman only through devotional service, but Krishna's Parabrahman. He's not saying you can only understand Brahman through devotional service, he's saying Parabrahman. Okay, so that's one thing. You can only understand Krishna through devotional service. And so actually, no, I think that was my own mistake. That was on my own imperfect senses, seeing there being something not adding up there. Because I guess you could say that you can, just like if you look at that arguments thing, or like how to come to the conclusion that God is behind everything, you can say you can go through logic or through devotion, but only through devotion you're going to know who that God is. Maybe by logic by some logical arguments you can be convinced that surely God is involved with this whole scene. But who that God is, you know, and everything about it, that you can't just logically deduce anymore. Now you have to approach that and figure that out through devotion, through revelation coming from God. So here also you can understand, you can get somewhere. You can even, I guess we could say, you can get through dhyāna or yoga. You can get through actually a spiritual transcendental platform, the Brahma Jyoti. You actually can through just mechanical processes. But then that is not to say that then you've realized Krishna. So to actually know who the source of who God actually is, a personality, then that part you need devotion. So maybe that's the only part that I was missing. I just like spoke, didn't even ask you anything in the end because I just. But do you want to say anything about that?
No, that was nice. I was also thinking how sometimes Krishna words this impersonal liberation too. You know, like without even going through the yogic process, Krishna gave impersonal liberation to those that, he killed, you know. Okay. Thank you for your time and attention. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.